ESO Electronic. I'm the CEO of ESO Electronic in Germany. Like we said yesterday, Björn is the technical director. He's the CEO of ESO Romania. We have 2 facilities. What we're doing is printed circuit board assembly. All good? Okay. What we're doing is printed circuit board assembly. We get customer drawings, we get bill of materials, and the customer wants us to produce any electronics. So basically anything you have in front of us, we could produce that theoretically at ESO, but all the consumer goods are made in China or somewhere in Southeast Asia. So we're specializing in production for medium and low volume. So there's a couple of specialized customers that need circuit boards. Let's say like they need 50, they need 500, or even up to 20,000 of something specific, like an embedded computer. They need a specific remote control, a heating system for pipelines, custom lighting solution, LED lighting solutions. All these different things we produce at our company. We also do software development. We have 2 software developers at our company. They're both here, Marcus and Stavros. And we have 100 employees totally in Germany and in Romania. So this is an example of a printed circuit board that is assembled. We buy the bare PCB. If you've seen a PCB yourself before, which you probably have, the green base material, let's say, that is something we source from different partners all over the world. We buy all the components, and when we have that, our service is the assembly, testing, coding, potting, mounting, packaging, all of this, so you can have a final product. That's what we do. This is actually a picture from one of our products that we produce in-house. So printed circuit board assembly, what we do is we have 200 active customers, mostly in Europe, but also in other parts of the world. It is, I would say, still 80% Germany that we supply to. But we get new inquiries. Just last week, we got inquiries from 2 Greek companies, one of whom has become a customer already. We're working for a Portuguese company, for Dutch companies. We have a Belgian customer. We have a French customer. I could go on, Finnish. We have a company in Brazil that buys PCBs from us. And that is because we're really specializing on being super fast and building high quality for low volume. It's obvious that if you're going to buy, I don't know how many iPhones Apple sells a year, millions, that is done in China, and that's done to a really high degree of quality. The iPhones are superb quality. But Germany has a good market for quality providers for smaller volume. So we produce, let's say, 10 pieces of something at a really high quality standard. We have 2,000 active products, so 2,000 different things. Embedded computer, a lighting solution that we produce at our company. And we assemble about 40 million components a year that are placed. So if you look back at the picture, each of those is an individual component. Boards can have up to thousands of components or 300 different components. And now if you're looking at it from an ERP standpoint, which you're probably already doing, okay, how do you purchase that much? How do you like, let's produce 10 PCBs. We need a custom PCB that's specifically produced for us. We need to buy all the components. You maybe have 200 different components on a PCB. Now you need to buy that. Of course, you can't be like, okay, let's just buy 10 times the amount that we need. No, you need to be cost competitive. So you need to buy exactly as much as you have. Inventory management is sometimes a nightmare with this. And I was just saying yesterday, if you make a prototype and you see a stock of 15, let's say, of these microchips, yeah, we have 15 in stock. You have to depend on that, because if you need 15 and you have 15, you're not going to buy more, But if you need 15 and you have 10, then you're going to have to call up your customer and say, well, I'm sorry, we can only deliver 10, the other 5 will arrive later. That is something that we face, definitely, that happens. but we're trying to minimize that. The second part that we do is software development. So we have two software developers. We develop in Frappe framework, so Python, JavaScript, MariaDB. But we also develop in ASP.NET. We develop desktop applications. We have a lot of software that we need for ourselves. So, for example, if a customer comes and says, "Okay, how do you test this PCB? I want to test it. I want it finished," then we need to produce custom test adapters. So these are typically very big projects, and they come with a customized software that we do for that. Yeah, test development and hardware development is also something we do. So if you have a great idea of some new product that you need, we're the guys who can do the development. So when we're looking for an ERP system about 2 years ago for a new one, I spent an intense weekend looking at all different ERP systems that are out on the market. I looked at Odoo, I looked at a bunch of other software. I mean, I basically downloaded, installed, tested. I tested the current Microsoft Dynamics, whatever. I tried them all out. And at the end, when I came to Frappe Framework and ERPNext, I found that to be a very good fit to what we need. And that has a history. We have an ERP system. We have an ERP system that works pretty well. It's Navision 2009. That system works. It's an excellent ERP system. It's reliable. You won't have crashes or any sort of problems. You don't have to concern yourself with, oh, is this booked correctly, or is there some bug in there that will cause something that I have to patch and fix? You don't have to deal with that. It works. But at the same time, customizing it is painful. We have customized the software heavily to suit our needs. Because for us, a bill of materials is not just a bill of materials. Materials are consumed in different places. They're put in different places. So it's very complex for us. And we customized all of this. And then Microsoft came along and said, okay, we're now going with Microsoft Dynamics Navision 2012, which has a completely new platform because it's web-based. And all the code that you've written, you cannot use it anymore. So you have to rewrite it. And when we got to that point of saying, okay, we have to rewrite basically all of our code, we said we're not willing to do that again in a system that is closed source, which we will face the same problem maybe again. So we were looking for a heavily customizable but updatable ERP system. And I was saying this yesterday to the second group. ERPNext is very customizable and updatable out of the box, even if you have the cloud hosting of Frappe on ERPNext.com. You don't have to deal with the updates. Basically, you have your customizations. The updates are done for you. You're always on the current version. If something crashes, you call them up and say, hey, help me out. If you say heavily customizable, I think that's a hint that we don't only write custom scripts and custom doc types or custom fields, but that we actually have our own fork of Frappe framework and ERPNext for the stuff that's really needs a lot of programming. So we do this whenever we see that something is suitable for the community, we contribute it back. So we were looking for a heavily customizable but updatable ERP system. I saw that, and I saw first warning flags with other ERP systems. What we're really looking for was an information warehouse with an API. We call that an information warehouse internally because the ERP system itself, when you think of ERP, most people think about, when they're a small business, accounting, stock. Accounting and stock, maybe managing some employees, payroll, sales orders, quotes, and we're done. But that's, ERPNext comes with all of that. That's fine, but that's not all we need. We have custom doc types for assembly specifications because all these assemblies are super complex for the PCB specifications. We have our own production planning tool because the production planning is very, very difficult. So all this information is put in, and we're replacing all the Word documents and Excel sheets that we have as little helper files at the company because we didn't want to spend the budget for implementing that in Navision. And ERPNext, I saw that ERPNext comes with that, so I can create. We had this example yesterday. create a doc type that manages my Christmas letters. Why not? You can do that. Absolutely no problem. And that's why I say information warehouse, because what do you do if you have an ERP system that is not very customizable? You will use, let's say, you buy Microsoft Dynamics, okay? You'll end up using about 10% of it because the other 90% is so specific and so rich, you don't actually need it. But that only covers, I just say a number, 50% of your needs. The other needs you'll cover with Excel sheets or Word docs. If you're a big enterprise, yes, they have SAP consultants that come in and deal with all of it for you. But smaller companies, this is typically a budget problem. So ERPNext for us is an information warehouse that keeps all of it. We have an API because we use a lot of the information in other apps. Like I was saying, we're building testers. These are desktop applications. But when you're signing in to that tester, you need credentials, you need a user. So we're actually using the ERPNext for authentication. So we have user roles that will say, are you allowed to use that application? So we're connecting to ERPNext through the API in various ways. And that's very important to us that the API is good. And I saw how simple the API is and how simply you can implement it. That was something too. We're looking for a web-based solution. So we have two locations, one in Romania, one in Germany. How does that typically work? You have two firewalls. They connect with a VPN network. And then you're stuck with whatever the VPN speed is. Now, there's a little bit of a problem with this sometimes, because if you're trying to do Navision SQL queries over a VPN, you're going to wait about 20 seconds until like a list view has loaded. So you need to work with on-premise machines that the users in Romania log into. You have to host all of that IT infrastructure. So it's a big headache for us. And home office gets a little bit more tricky. There is technical solutions for all of this, absolutely. And these technical solutions are readily available. But I just don't want to deal with it. When I'm at the customer, and I'm often at the customers, and they have a question about their product, I want to pull out my cell phone, my laptop, my tablet, whatever I have with me, and I will go into that customer and I will pull up all the information that I need, and I'll have it readily available. It doesn't matter where our employees are at that moment. If they're working from Greece, if they're working from Germany, I don't have to deal with the VPN infrastructure and securing that. We're just looking for a system that we can access directly. We want a beautiful product, so our employees spend so much time. They look at the ERP system all day long. And if you look at the ERP systems out there, some of them are really quite, they're not beautiful, let's say like this. And they're not structured well. And I think people are used to using computers and using ERP systems. And when they look at ERPNext, the first thing you see is like, okay, I think I understand it. I don't have like 1,000 tables and views and different things. It's a very intuitive way to do it. So the next thing we were looking for was an open source project. And this was also because Microsoft has decided to discontinue the 2009 product line, let's call it, and replace it with something new. We want to be able to either say, okay, we're willing to do this, we're going along that way, or we want to say, no, this is what we need. We'll stop here, we'll fork, and we'll do our own thing. So with the ERPNext and in general with open source projects, is they're truly open source and not like trying to be open source and then heavily commercialize it. Is that there has to be a sort of democratic perspective of the company that develops it. If that company goes bad, if that company closes, if they go bankrupt, if they just lose interest, if you just look on SourceForge or on GitHub, how many abandoned open source projects there are. This is also the case with closed source projects. I was at the tax office in Romania the other day, and I walked in and I looked. I had to do some taxation, and I saw they had 4 computers running. One was running Windows NT, One was running Windows 2000. The other one was Windows 10. And then then the rest I don't know, maybe some Linux system. And the reason was, I asked her, what's all this? You know, it's like a small office and you have all these computers and screens and she was like, yeah, I mean, we have all this software that's not upward compatible. They've just stopped developing it, and now I have to use a Windows NT machine. I was like, okay, what do you do if that hard drive breaks? Are you even going to find a hard drive that fits that old computer anymore? You know, so it's important that the projects evolve and the projects continue in development. But if for some reason it stops, we feel like we can take over for ourselves. So this is why I found ERPNext compared to all the other systems. It is the perfect system for us for the information warehouse. Not only ERPNext, we talk about ERPNext, and this is the ERPNext conference, but this is like also the Frappe framework conference, the power of Frappe. So what is an information warehouse? Enterprise Resource Planning, ERP. It's a manufacturing execution system. So we, at any given point, we have about 300 production orders in our company that have to be tracked, managed, produced. Customer communication has to be managed. So the manufacturing execution system helps us plan it. When exactly does this work? Down to the minute, when does this production start, on which machine, who will do what after, how far you're along. We need to closely track the workers' time. So, you know, all of these projects are very competitively priced. And at the end, we need to know, did we make money, or did we lose money, or did we have enough? Did we have too much left that we should lower the price for the customer to have a strategic relationship with them, to say, okay, it's not only going up, but when products run really well, the price is also going down. So this is very important for us. Customer relationship management in simple ways, yes, okay, who are our customers? But for us, what's very important is the customer help desk. We currently use Help Scout, which is a system like you may have come across Zendesk or other systems like this. It's quite similar to that. And for us, that is very important. 300 production orders at any given point means a ton of communication all the time with all the customers, and not only with the customers. I don't know how many thousand purchase orders we have a year. Hundreds. Do you know? Over 3,000 purchase orders. Okay. Okay. Since January 1st, 360. Yeah. So 10. So yeah, 15 per working day. 15 per working day. We assume that will be higher even now. And these are not like one-line purchase orders. These are like big purchase orders of several thousand euros. So also communicating with the supplier, this is intense, because like you have one line that they cannot deliver. They give you order confirmation that's not good. You have to plan your production again. You have to move it. You have to talk to the customer. So it's a very, very difficult process for us. So the help desk is very important. Collaborative project management. We use a software called Asana right now. So Asana is a software as a service. It's hosted only by the Asana by Asana, and we use it to manage progress. Because if you send us this PCB to produce, we have a process map. This requires 30 things to be done until we can even start, and they depend on each other. So this is very, very tricky for us. Quality management, we're under quality management norms, so our quality management system has to comply to ISO 9001. So we have process maps that we ultimately will have in ERPNext. We have process definitions, quality documentation. All of this has to be managed centrally. Data storage and versioning. So the customers send us their data, okay, and the project manager notices, oh, there is a discrepancy here. The part number that you've written, this is not clear. Can you specify this? Okay, now you have a problem if you do it really, really well. Because the customer will say, will either tell you, oh yeah, that's a typo, just change it. Okay, Now we're talking about quality documentation, right? Just change it. Okay. Oh, we can do that. But now we're triggering a process. Okay. We cannot change the original customer document because that has to be there for the files. So I have to change a copy of it. We have to record all of this in our ERP system. We have to write the customer, formally notify. Even if the customer thinks that's very relaxed, that they don't bother, we still have to notify them. But typically, when you work with these companies, you can't only notify the developer who said that, but you also have to notify the purchaser, right? So then if you forget that, if you're talking to a big corporation like Panasonic, Siemens, or Bosch, or any of these guys, if you just talk to the developer, the purchaser doesn't think that's very, very funny. You know, they really want to know. Okay, you're changing the specification. That person might have thought that's not a big change, but to me that is. Okay, you maybe have to talk about price changes. So all of this gets very gritty. So we need really good data storage and versioning. Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if yeah, the if the product has very strict regulation, you maybe have to restart the whole process because of something like this. Yeah. We also need a knowledge base. Okay, so what is the smallest component that we can assemble? How fast is that component? How many fiducials do you need on a PCB? How many, all of this information that everybody has to deal with on a regular basis. This has to be stored in a central location so it's accessible for us, but it's also accessible for our customers. So we can send them a link. And I have a question. How does the ideal bill of materials look like? How do I export? Okay, now this gets crazy. Gerber files from this and that program. So we write instructions on that and we put them on the knowledge base, right? So, okay, ERPNext is all of that for us, or is the platform, or Frappe is the platform for all of this. I've just listed what we really love about the product. So it's a beautiful, intuitive, and easy to use design. You open it, and when I first opened it, I saw the desktop, and I was like, this is promising. Okay, and not I opened it, and I'm like, where do I start? It's very clear to me where I start. You can configure the desktop for each user to make sure that they only see what's very important to them, and then the users can get going. It's easy to set up, either hosted or cloud. The cloud sign up takes a minute, maybe two, and you're ready to go. And if you sign up for a paid subscription plan, you put in your payment credentials, and you're good. You don't have to deal with anything else. Hosted is also very easy to set up, ever more so when we started. The whole setup was very, very much Mac OS oriented or Linux oriented. Now you have a virtual box for Windows. You can play around. Once you familiarized yourself with Bench and Frappe framework, you can go and find out what's really under the hood to configure your servers and Redis and whatever. It's a well-known technology to make it easy to get started. So what Frappe is not well-known technology. ERPNext is not. That's a big problem that we're facing, that it's not well-known technology. But what's under the hood is well-known. If you want to find a JavaScript developer, you can find a JavaScript developer. If you want to find a Python developer, you will find one. If you want an expert in Git, you will find one. If you want somebody who knows something about Linux development or Linux server administration, about MariaDB, about Redis server and how to do this. If you want somebody who will figure out a Linux firewall for you, you'll be able to find all of this. You can find it, you can read up about it. This is very well documented. That's also important to me. Like if you look at the typical ERP systems, yes, they all have like derivatives of C++ or whatever, or some functional programming language that they use, but you need some training in it. With Python, you don't. It's very simple and straightforward. So that's under the hood, and that also impressed me. So the second stage, when I looked at ERPNext, I saw, okay, the desktop looks clean. It has the functionality that we need. I can easily customize it. Was what's under the hood? Is this held together by duct tape, or is this actually working? And when I saw what's under the hood, I got more convinced that this is good for us. So I'm neither a Python developer or specifically like a Linux geek. I'm originally a Java developer, now turned CEO of this electronics manufacturing company. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm not doing that anymore. But JavaScript, Python development, I understand the concepts. I can wrap my head around it. I know about the logic of programming. And so then I have the experts who will do the specific jobs for me. It has an API for each doc type and whitelists, which make integration of other apps and services really easy. So you can basically make any field available to read or to update, and you can use that in other apps. You can connect it with Help Scout. You could connect it with Salesforce if you want. You can connect with anything you want if you make the right API connectors. And open source software with a great company and people behind it. I don't know exactly how the timeline was, but after that weekend of manically looking through all the ERP systems, I think I went up to my wife and said, I found the ERP system that's going to work for us. The framework is the only thing that will be good. We're going to India. Okay. So book a flight. And we went to India. We met Rushab. We met Nabin. We met the rest of the team. And we were sitting with them. We booked a developer workshop at their facilities. We were with them for a week. And yes, the developer aspect was part of it. The other part of it for me was, how flexible are you? Can I come on short notice? Can I come to your office and sit at your table? Will you actually explain to me how this works? Will you take the time? Will you be a good host? And all of this was the case. I came to India. They were excellent hosts. They were super friendly to me and to Marcus and Carly. More than accommodating. Told us everything they knew. Very open. Really, truly living the open source spirit. And we left knowing not only is this a good framework, not only is this a good ERP system that we can base it on, but also the company behind it lives the open source spirit and is full of good people. They're great people, and that rounds it up for me. So, is there an ERP system that would work more out of the box? Definitely, definitely. There is a system that will suit our needs more. Maybe there is even somebody who has an SAP implementation for electronics manufacturing firm. I guarantee you there is one or a couple. But that's a completely different spirit, and that spirit is important to me, and to be able to do it and to be part of that community. So, what are about the things that are missing? We heard this a lot. Bench stop. Okay, this is just a good example. I want this. How about this field? How about this functionality? How about we turn this into a really super awesome help desk? How about SKR03, SKR04, and German double accounting? And how about the data export for German tax consultants? And how about an importer? All really good ideas. And Rushab, I saw a change in 2016 at the conference when he started saying, scratch your itch. I didn't hear that at the ERPNext conference 2015, or maybe I just didn't listen enough. But you can see as the project is getting bigger, more people come with great ideas, and you're the experts in those fields. You need that. Like, what does Nabin know about the DATEV exporter for a German tax consultant? It's not his problem. He's never thought about it. It's not interesting to him, just in the same way that other things are not interesting to you. So it's about the functional experts of you to bring these issues up and to make it. So, but who should fix this? Who should fix it all? That's obvious. These guys, right? They should do it all. So let's count. Okay, you're 13 people, more than in the picture. Who should fix it? They should just do it. We're 40 people here, or 50 people here. And let's say we each have 10 problems that we want fixed. Okay, so we have 500 problems. Let's just raise GitHub issues, and these guys will fix it all for us. So the other way is like, scratch your itch is who should fix it? These guys. And the answer is both. I think there's ERPNext is the company, or Frappe is the company that makes the money from the cloud hosting and from sponsorships. We are companies that either replace an ERP system that we have, like us or others of you, or we're a company who develop for companies, or we're a company that's looking to 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 find a good framework for what we're doing. So now think about the combined money and the combined knowledge, the combined programming knowledge, the combined ERPNext consulting expertise, implementation expertise, functional knowledge, and think about just this room, how much knowledge we have and how much energy we can put into this if we really want to. You know, we're paying, like, if you look at stuff like Help Scout, if you have a Help Scout a Help Scout for 10 people, you're gonna end up paying 2,500 euros a year for this, and nobody's bothered by that. That's just how much it costs. You know, you go with Asana and you have a team that's too big, and you already go into the paid plan. People don't care if they spend 5,000 on that when it's every month you're billed. When people look at an ERP implementation and they see SAP, okay, 250,000, it's like, oh, okay, how do we do this? It's just the beginning, also. Okay, that's just the ticket price, the label price. So just think about this: when you're replacing stuff in your company, when you are commercially benefiting from this, you can also contribute stuff, and we have to set the roadmap for this.